Hi, you guys. Happy first Tuesday of the month. How are you? I see people hopping on. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. I do these workshops on the first Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. Although the past couple of months, I have made some time zone blunders and just really kind of been off my game. So I'm excited to be here with you guys on the right day at the right time to talk to you about decluttering today. Last month, we talked about routines. And in January, we talked about goals. And we will talk about goals again in April as sort of a quarterly check in. But really, this is all just everything that I'm sharing is really just a backstory of like the hacks that I use in my life to try to get things done. I was at Bible study last night, and one of the questions asked was, what area is your struggle? And I was really honest with the women, and I just said, sometimes it's clutter. And I think that spring like kind of makes you think about clutter, like you really are ready for a fresh start. You're ready to open the windows. You're ready to just kind of spruce things up a bit. And I don't know what it is about this season that actually, I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to open the windows in December when it's cold outside, but I don't know what it is about the spring that makes me actually want to spring clean or declutter or all of the above. But there's just something about using this season of the year to get your house and your home and your life in order. So I got up at 5:30 this morning and I wrote out everything I want to talk to you guys about today. And also, my team and I created this handy dandy printable worksheet that is going out in an email after this workshop and will also be available for download in our shop. So I'm very excited about it. Today, I just want to talk you through my decluttering process. I started this last year over on Instagram. I called it 32 Days of Declutter, hashtag. It was really 28 days or 4.5 weeks with a break on Sundays. But it's really 28 areas of life, 28 like segment areas that you can declutter. And last year, another thing I realized was that for me, like the time span of about 2 weeks is really all that I had to give. I did not make it my whole 32 days, but I did consolidate a lot of the tasks, a lot of the 28 different tasks into those 2 weeks. And I got a lot done then. But it's that season. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about preparing for a season of decluttering. And then also through these 28 steps. So the first thing I want to say is that decluttering is first and foremost a mindset. It's not necessarily something that I recommend setting aside a massive amount of time for. It's more important to adjust your mindset and realize that wherever you are in life, wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, there's probably a way to leave that place better than you found it. And if you're like me, clutter builds up over time, even with that mentality. But again, springtime just is this great season to kind of just push ahead and say, you know what, instead of, clearing out the driver's seat door of my car today, I'm going to clean out the driver and 2 passenger seat doors or something like that. So I'm going to talk more about tips, tricks, hacks, things that I do as I talk through the 28 steps. But the first thing I wanted you guys to kind of just start to think about adopting is that decluttering is a mindset, and you don't have to do 28 steps. You can do it as you go around your everyday life. And springtime is a great time to get into that mindset. Okay, on the handy dandy worksheet that you're going to be able to get later, there is the first column on the left-hand side is all about prep day. So prep day is important because there's nothing more demotivating than getting into the middle of a decluttering session and having to stop and run and go get something. So a couple of things I recommend. Number one, your planner. The first thing that I did was I took all of these 28 categories listed on this sheet, and I designated a day for each of those. And I just went in the same order that's listed on the sheet. So day one was prep day. And actually, somebody's going to probably tell me this. It starts with a number 2 up here because day one is prep day. And so then day 2 is, might need to explain that on the worksheet now that I think about it. But writing things down makes things happen. And so I'm not a hard and fast addict when it comes to looking at my planner every night and, using it to, just micromanage my life. But I do believe that writing things down puts an intention out into the world. It's kind of ties in with that mindset thing a little bit, and that you're more likely to work on the decluttering if you have it written down in your planner. So give yourself grace. Don't stress out if you break your streak. It's not a big deal, but just have a little writing session with yourself and write down the stuff that you would like to make happen this springtime. Another thing that I think is handy to have when you start decluttering is a notepad. This is one of our brain dump notepads that I actually set a water glass on and kind of got deformed, but who cares? It's still totally functional. So it's just, as I go about decluttering our family's home, I find it really helpful to be able to jot down ideas. Again, this helps keep me focused on the task at hand and not get distracted. So if the other day I was cleaning my boys' room and I was like, I need to call the electrician and have them do that. So I put electrician on the list, and it never fails that as I am decluttering a room, I will come across something and need to write that down. Another thing that I think is really helpful to have is a measuring tape. And in conjunction with that notepad, if I am cleaning out a space and I'm like, I really need a bin for that space, having a measuring tape in part of my decluttering zone is going to be really helpful. I can just reach over there, measure it, figure out what size bin or basket or whatever I'm going to need, and then put that on a shopping list. And that way, when I find it later, find that item when I'm shopping, it'll fit perfectly. So having a measuring tape is helpful. Also, trash bags. I like to have a couple of different sizes. We use standard kitchen trash bags a ton, but then also the really gigantic ones for yard work and stuff, I think can come in super handy. We have a few medium-sized, medium-large things like Christmas trees and things that don't really have a storage box or bag or anything. And I love trash bags. Just throw it over the top of those and it's dust free. So having a couple different sizes of those is helpful. Bins or boxes for sorting. We keep a stash out in our garage, like a bin and box stash. When we moved, we actually got the bins and we used the bins to move. We bought not the most expensive ones and not the cheapest ones, but a mid-range bin. And what I wanted to kind of go through all the boxes, and I'm still in the process of doing this, and organizing the stuff that's in a brown box into a clear bin, get rid of the stuff I don't need. It's decluttering an attic, basically, and store those bins with labels on them so I can kind of see what's inside them. So boxes or bins. Another thing that I'll talk about as I go through these 28 things it's actually 27 things because prep day is number 1. So clarify that. Another thing that I'll talk about is a principle called like things together. And I learned this from a friend of mine who was an interior designer, and I babysat for her kids when she was growing up. And she also merchandised for the store that I worked at, the stationery store that I worked at. And she taught me like things together. And I've learned that in life, that principle applies really well to stuff lying around our house. So I'll talk more about that in a little bit. And if you guys have any questions, you can type them out in the question box over there or leave a comment, and I'll do my best to respond in real time or to the comments later. The next thing that you kind of want to have or get on prep day is cleaning supplies. Some of the places that you will end up decluttering are places that probably don't get dusted frequently. A classic example of this is like the silverware drawer. Like, I don't know how silverware drawers end up getting so dirty. It kind of weirds and grosses me out. But if I'm going to pull the silverware tray and all the silverware and everything out of that, I'm going to want to have some disinfectant wipes and things that I can scrub down everything with. And so just having plenty of cleaning supplies on hand, whatever you use. And then I said measuring tape. So I would recommend spending one day and getting all of that stuff together. Like, do a little prep work to set you up for success so that when you start actually getting into the decluttering process, you have everything that you need. And then as we move into these next 27 things, I've broken them up into basically 5 different categories. There's the kitchen area, which we'll talk about first. I feel like it's always easy to start in the kitchen and you see results. You're in the kitchen every day. And so it's really motivating to help you keep going on your decluttering process. Then bedroom and bathroom. Then digital decluttering, which I love. We can talk about that. And then just general home stuff. There's a category for that. And then last but not least, just a little other category. Sometimes I call this dust and dirt, but well, we'll talk about it. We'll get there. So the first thing that I recommend if you are starting with your kitchen, and you can start wherever it works best for you. This is not like a domino thing, but for me, starting with the kitchen works best. I recommend doing the counters one day, so taking everything off. And I don't try really hard. Well, hang on. Let me back up. Before you start, I also recommend the bins that I was talking about. What I do whenever I'm decluttering is I have a bin. I don't put the stuff into a trash bag straight away because you have to stop and open the trash can or drag it around with you. I just keep some bins lined up and I toss stuff into that. So a bin for donate. If you do have a really wide mouth trash, you could use a trash can, or if you have a wide mouth trash bag, you could put a trash bag in one of the bins. I just feel like the bins are nice and organized and I can just throw stuff in them really quick. And so I keep a bin for trash, a bin for donate, a bin for things that have to go to other people, so things that have to be returned, and then a bin of things that, because I have a shop, little antique shop type, little one-off, one-of-a-kind things, a lot of times stuff that we're not using in my house will go to the shop, and so I keep a bin for shop things. Okay, so on to kitchen. Start with countertops. The easiest thing to do is to take everything off of them, clean them off, put it all back. My husband actually did this a couple weeks ago for us. And there's just something about getting everything totally clean and organized that makes everything feel so fresh. Now, if you keep your kitchen counters pretty well cleared off, I would recommend that you find another area to work on that is in line of sight all the time. So something that you see every day. For us, this could also be, we have a pantry that acts as an extension of our kitchen. And so there are counters in there. It's where we keep the Instapot and Vitamix and mixer, all that stuff. So I might spend my countertop energy working a little bit on the pantry, which is going to roll over into day 2, which is pantry organization. I'll talk about that in a second. The three things that I ask myself when I am decluttering. Well, first of all, I love the Marie Kondo question of does it spark joy? Years ago, when I first read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, I was so excited about it. I loved her writing so much that my husband was coming home from work and I met him at the back door with the book in my hand. I was like, this book is incredible. I totally love it. You do not have to read this, but I need you to walk to the closet with me right now. I have a question for you. I need to know if these things spark joy. And so I pulled out a shirt. I was like, does this shirt spark joy? He was like, yeah, I think so. And I was like, okay, then you can keep it. No problem. Hang it back up. Next shirt. Does this shirt spark joy? And he looked at me and he goes, does it spark joy for you? Valid point. So I love that question of does it spark joy? But I also think through like minimize, eliminate, and organize as three steps that I use in decluttering. So minimize, do we really need all this stuff? Eliminate, is all of this stuff really necessary? And then lastly, organize. So the minimize and eliminate is first. How can I streamline this, consolidate things, put like things together to organize them? And then do I really need all that stuff? And then after that's done, I'll get into organization, which is why you need a notepad and a pen. Because if you're in your pantry and you're organizing something, you're like, oh, I really need more decanters or whatever. You got to write down decanters on your list and then you can go buy them. But the time to buy them is not when you're decluttering. Right now, you're just trying to go through stuff and make space, make room. Another thing that I like to do, this is sort of a side note, but is one thing in, two things out. Again, that's kind of a seasonal thing. I kind of have to gear myself up for that mindset. Not that it's hard to do. I just have to remember to use that as an operating program, so to speak, for my brain because I get out of the habit. But I love that as well. So kitchen consists of counters, day one, pantry, day two, refrigerator. And this is the classic, like take all the things out, wipe it all down, check the expiration dates, put it all back in. I'm also a bit of a creative cook, like throw it in a pot. And so refrigerator day can sometimes lead to some super fun and interesting recipe dinner options. But just getting that refrigerator so clean is always a really good feeling. And then your kitchen drawers. We moved into this house a year ago, and so I did a lot of decluttering of the drawers then. I am not sure what decluttering the drawers is going to look like this time around, but I will let you know. I feel like everything that we have in a drawer we use right now. So maybe we're decluttered there, and that might happen for you as well. And then the last kitchen thing is under the sink. And this takes some time, but pull it all out, wipe it all down, because under sink, it just gets wonky. And then you can put everything back in. Then the next 5 items are all about bedroom and bathroom. So hanging clothes, I love hanging clothes clean out day because I just walk into my closet and I'm like, I don't wear that, I don't wear that, I don't wear that. I wear these same things over and over again. So there are a few little garment categories that I hang on to, like business suits that I have from way back when that are classic, timeless. I wore one last week. Formal dresses that I invested in before Rent the Runway was a thing, stuff like that I hang on to. And then folded clothes is next. And for me, this is a lot of t-shirts, like pajama type stuff I don't wear. And as I was working on this list and writing all this stuff out and kind of thinking through some of this stuff, I actually thought of a few like folded clothes categories, like old pajamas and t-shirts and stuff like that just aren't getting worn and used. And I don't need that much stuff, Then toiletries and cosmetics. Again, when we moved, I did a really deep clean out on this. And so I ended up buying a plexiglass organizational thing and and really kind of organizing all the things in there so I know what's in what drawer, and everything has a home for everything. Everything has a home. And so I know what's there. I still could really tackle some drawers, also my family's drawers. Maybe use this opportunity to talk to my kids about how to put the lid back on the toothpaste. Then purses and bags, which I feel like we all love a cute handbag or tote or whatever. But every now and then you just have to go through and be like, I'm not using this one anymore. It's got to go. Or just spend some time reorganizing it. Or finding all the purses that have been floating all around your closet, your bedroom, wherever, and reconsolidate them to one place. Do the like things together thing. I love that somebody saying that she's not a condo fan. I know a lot of people aren't. I was not a fan of the Netflix show, but the idea of just letting go of things that you don't love really resonated with me. And it made me realize that I was hanging on to a lot of stuff just because I thought I was supposed to hang on to it. And when I really stopped and thought about it, I was like, no, there's no reason. So it went away. That felt really good. Then next, on the bed and bath category is organizing your bedroom. And so this would entail like hitting all the surfaces in your bedroom, clearing off countertops, things like that, not countertops, but dresser tops, things like that. Just general tidy. And then last but not least, medication. We have meds everywhere. This is a category I'm really going to need to focus on this year. It's kind of at that point where it's driving me nuts. We have prescription medications. We have allergy medications. We have supplements. We have vitamins. We have all kinds of stuff. And we have an upstairs and a downstairs medication spot. And we need to figure out some kind of system for all that. So to start figuring out the system, I'm going to first get into there and figure out what I've got, how it can be organized, what can I get rid of, what do I not need, and then straighten from there. The next category of decluttering is digital decluttering. If you feel like proceeding forward after those first two categories with house stuff, you can jump to the next category and come back to digital decluttering. But I would recommend not forgetting to do this. This is a hard category to declutter. In the spirit of like things together, we have a drawer of cords. There are a ton of cords in there. There are cords for everything. There are cords for things I don't even think we have anymore. I'm afraid to throw away the cords because I don't know what they belong to. But we have got to get rid of some electronic type stuff. We're going to have to figure it out. So that is on my project list. I'm going to get some painter's tape and wind each cord with a piece of painter's tape and leave a little sort of tail tag on it. So I can, when I figure out what that thing goes to, I can write it on there. And then that way everything's all wound up nice and tight. It's not this big jumbly mess. So cords. Next thing to declutter is your credit cards. And I'm mainly talking about those little subscription things that you sign up for and then you kind of just forget. And every year I go through, sometimes twice a year, and I cancel subscriptions. Like we did Kiwi Crate for the kids for a while, or there's all kinds of business things that I'll sign up for. And sometimes it's a yearly subscription and sometimes it's a monthly subscription. But every now and then I'll see one of these things one of these charges pop up on my credit card. And it reminds me that I'm just not using that. Just go in and cancel it. You can always reactivate it later if you need it. And so going through, and I will find $200 a month on my credit card in little subscription things, just $4 here, $5 there. So just going through and cleaning up your credit card subscriptions is important. Social media. And this is something that I try to do throughout the year too. Sometimes you're just following people that you don't know why you're following them. You know, it's like, whatever. Also on Instagram, you can mute people as well. So sometimes there are people that, I'm friends with in real life. Like I would rather catch up with them in real life, but I also don't want to offend them by unfollowing them on Instagram. And so I'll just hit mute on them. And so that way I'm keeping my feed full of things that inspire me and motivate me and keep me focused on positive and uplifting things. When it comes to decluttering your email, I heard somebody say one time that sometimes you just have to declare bankruptcy on the inbox. You just have to you have to select all and you just have to hit delete. I do that sometimes. Another thing that you can do is just go through and look at all the things that you're getting every day. If you're getting an email a day from Pottery Barn and you don't have plans to order anything anytime soon, unsubscribe. Pottery Barn will still be there when you're ready to come back. I feel like I do this every morning. I feel like there's something that I will hit unsubscribe on every morning because I've had my email address for close to 20 years. And it's just out there. It's the biggest pain in the neck, but there's nothing I can do about that. I can mark stuff as spam. I can hit unsubscribe, but sometimes people just still send you emails. And so just spending like 15 minutes to 30 minutes to really kind of clean that up. And then once you've got all your stuff unsubscribed, once you've unsubscribed from everything that you're done with, you can literally this morning, I was like, is there anything outstanding in my email that I need to do? And I cannot think of a single pressing thing. There might be something buried in there, but I'm hoping that anybody who's important is going to also have my phone number and text me. So if you're watching this and you feel neglected by me, don't be afraid to text me. I had a business coach one time, and one of the first questions that he asked me is, what is your primary form of communication? If you ever want to build a really good relationship with someone, ask them that question and then use their primary form of communication to work with them. And so I said texting. And so a lot of times I'll even someone will email and I'll just respond and be like, text me, because the email is a bottomless pit. I hate it. I kind of quit it a couple of years ago. So anyway, that's probably a longer story for another day, unless you would like for me to go into that. Okay, decluttering your computer. My computer is a gobbledygook. Well, first of all, I don't really keep anything on my computer. I keep it all in Dropbox, but Dropbox for me is kind of a funny collage of folders, and I'll make a folder. I'll forgot that I've made a folder. I'll go make another folder. One day I'll be like, I'm going to get super organized about this. I'm going to make subfolders, or I'm going to rename everything in this folder to this thing. And sometimes you just have to. I actually did when I got a new computer last year. I just started fresh. Like I left the old computer. So everything that's on the old computer, if I need it, I can go and get to it. But started completely fresh so that I started with a clean slate. So things that you can do on this, or you can empty the trash on your computer. I have a Mac, so I'm kind of speaking from that viewpoint, but you can empty the trash on your computer. You can go through, there's actually an app for your Mac called Clean My Mac. I think I had it on my old computer. I haven't put it on this one yet, but it'll go through and find large files, duplicate files, and it'll sort of like call those out to you. So you can be like, oh, I don't need to keep a file that's 30 gigs or whatever. I'm not using that anymore. Or it'll find episodes of something that you downloaded a podcast or things like that. So Clean My Mac is a great helpful tool for that, but just spending some time organizing your files, getting rid of stuff you don't need. Then last but not least, decluttering our phones. I did this last year, and slowly the apps have gotten a little bit, you add a new app, you don't put it in a folder, they've gotten a little bit disorganized. I'm sure there's some apps that I'm not using. So it's time for another declutter. And if I get to that anytime soon, I will share it on my Instagram feed so that you guys can see how I work that. The next category of things to declutter is your home. And I started by talking about toys and games with this one. We have a little game section. Again, when we moved in, I didn't really organize the stuff in there. And so it's going to be a really fun day when we take all that stuff out and kind of get all of that situated. And I know we have multiple copies. I think we have 3 Settlers of Catan, or Catan, however you want to say it. 3 games, because we've been places and like needed an extra, like you want to play it, you go buy another one. Like we've been traveling and been like, oh, we should play Catan tonight. We just go buy it. So we're going to have a really good chance to minimize and eliminate some stuff there. Also, they're puzzles my kids don't use anymore, or puzzles that we've done so many times that we're kind of tired of them. And so cleaning up toys and games. I cleaned my daughter's room yesterday. And really, when I'm talking about decluttering, in some ways I'm talking about deep cleaning. I'm not talking about just getting rid of stuff. And I'm not talking about cleaning from the standpoint of like, what products am I using? I'm just talking about a deep get in there, dust everything off, and which doesn't happen all the time around our house. So wipe out the cabinets, things like that. The next category on the home is your desk or hobby area. So for us, this is going to be the office, which is this room. My husband and I share it. Also, I have a hobby section in the garage because I like to paint anything, furniture, art, whatever. And so that could use a little tidy, and I will probably pick a nicer day to get that done. And again, as I go through our home in the kitchen and the bedrooms and the kids' rooms, if I find things that need to go into the hobby area, that's where I would go get it, which happens because my projects kind of float around the house depending on what they are. That's a really good place where you could have like a bin and say like when you're sorting and organizing this stuff, like this goes in the garage. And so I could just go stick the bin out in the garage and then wait for a really nice day and get all the hobby stuff organized out there then. The next category on the home list is junk drawer. And I'm not saying it's the junk drawer. It's just pick a drawer, any drawer. We have a lot of storage in this house. I was really careful to make sure that we had a lot of built-ins whenever we had the house built. So we have drawers that just have that nothing, they did not get assigned anything. So it's not that the things that are in there are in their home. It's that the things didn't have a home, and so they're in there. That's a junk drawer. So we probably have, I know we have an office supply drawer, so we're safe on that. But in the kitchen, there's a junk drawer, and upstairs in our utility room, there's a junk drawer too, actually. So I'm going to spend some time as I declutter the rest of my home thinking about, like, realizing that like a bin or a box that I have set aside in the garage, those drawers are empty and available for our storage needs, and I can think about what I want to use them for. The next category is linen closet. And when I'm decluttering a linen closet, it's just all about getting rid of sheet sets that we don't use anymore, blankets that we don't use anymore, things like that. We got our boys beddies, their zip-up beds this year because they have bunk beds. So it really just makes it easier for them to make their beds up. And so we have a lot of sheets that we don't use. We switched from having queen beds for everybody to, we've got full and twin. So my linen closet's going to get a nice declutter this year. The next room to declutter is your laundry room. This is, depending on how much space you have, this might just be the cabinets that you have up. We don't actually have upper cabinets in our laundry room, so we need to figure out some kind of storage solution right there. But I can get in there, and probably in about 30 minutes, I can get that space pretty decluttered and wiped down, and then I can figure out what our storage needs are and look at options. And then last but not least, this is my least favorite decluttering category, is books, because I love books. We had our local library sale last week. Was that last week? Or week before last? I can't remember. It's one of only 10 remaining library sales in the United States. And there are a ton of books, and they're all like $2, $3, $1. And so I went with 4 totes, and my husband was like, "Do you need any books?" I was like, "Really? Are books a matter of need? Or I don't know if I need them until I see them, and then I might need it. I don't know." So anyway, I only bought as much as I could carry. I got something like 60 books for $150 or something. I loved it. And I always write in my books, and so I don't want to spend a lot of money on them. And so getting rid of books is hard for me. But there are usually, over the years, there are fewer and fewer that I feel like I need to get rid of, which is a problem. But there are always a few that I can say, okay, we've read this one, we've enjoyed it, we've loved it, it's time, it can move on. But growing up, we had one of the bedrooms in our house was a library. It had a really cool wall of bookshelves, and the whole family kept all of the books in there. And it was this incredible resource that I used growing up whenever I wanted to, middle of the night, I couldn't sleep, I would go get a book to read. And I want my kids to have that same resource. So we've gotten rid of all like the little kids books, and we have a really nice collection of picture books that I've built from the library sale over the past couple of years. And so we're still in the point of like needing to hang on to those. We won't get rid of those quite yet. The next and last category, the 5th category, is the other, or as I sometimes call it, the dust and dirt. Like, this is the yucky. Sometimes I want to wear like surgical gloves when I clean this stuff or tidy this stuff or declutter it. But the car, one of my favorite things is, especially on nice days in Oklahoma, it gets really, really windy. Excuse me. Really windy. I need to be able to talk, guys. And so sometimes it's like you're getting gas for your car, and like the door will shut on you because there's so much wind here. I don't like cleaning out my car on those days. I get right back in the car. But if it's a pretty day, I'll get out and open all the car doors and get all the trash and stuff out. Also, my precious dad owns a car wash. And so sometimes I'll go over there and get everything like vacuumed out, or my husband will take the cars and go do that. But just getting the car at least once a year. Again, you don't have to do this in this season, but you could use this as a checklist to just, have I done that this year? Like, it might be time to spend some energy making that a little bit tidier, less cluttered, cleaner. But like once a year, I'll take the car to have it be detailed and just get it to kind of like a clean slate. The next category is the garage. And this is kind of one of those things that you want to wait until there's a pretty day. And we try to do this a couple times a year, I would say, spring and fall. Sometimes in the summer, you can get out there and really, really clean stuff out, but we're still recovering from a move. Sometimes I'm like, are the boxes ever going to go away? My mom boxed up. I talked about this on Instagram yesterday. My mom saved everything. And not only did she save it, she saved it perfectly. Like doll boxes with the original doll tissue in them. I mean, absolutely immaculate. So now I feel incredibly guilty about getting rid of those things. And I went through this thing yesterday where I had all of these American Girl doll boxes and was like, what do I do with all these? And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to break them down and put them in a bin and stick them in the attic. And that way, if anybody ever, my daughter, my granddaughter, whatever, decides that they need to sell my collection of American Girl doll stuff, they've got the boxes. And so hanging on to stuff like that is hard for people. Some organization people would say, like, you've probably just got to let go and move on. Life is too short. For me, it's, I can't deal with, I would rather not deal with the letting go of it today, right now it still brings me joy. It's back to that Marie Kondo thing. Like I still love that stuff. So I'm going to hang on to it. And that's why I loved that question of does it spark joy? Tools, organizing tools, decluttering tools. We are handy people. We love having tools. I love knowing where they are. We got a tool chest a couple years ago, which helped us organize some of that. And it's not so much that our tools probably this year need to be decluttered, but just organized. We need to go through and do a like things together strategy, all the hammers in one spot, and like a little bit of a homing strategy. Like, is this the hammer spot? Okay, it is. Good. Now we all know that. Involving my family in this is really key. Yesterday, it was actually my birthday, and my love language is acts of service. And I asked my husband if he would help me clean our daughter's room. We had never, not really clean it, but just organize it, straighten it, hang the pictures on the walls, all the things. We've lived here for a year and have not gotten around to that. And so we did. We spent all day yesterday doing it. And when she came home from school yesterday, I spent a lot of time talking to her about how we need to care for the room going forward. Now that it's in order, these are the things that we need to do. And she spent a lot of time straightening last night and then again this morning. So it's exciting to see her sort of play house in her own space. And the last category to organize is storage, which is a beast and a half. We have a ton of storage. We have accidentally moved a lot over the past 4.5 years, and we have ended up with a storage unit of furniture and just plus all the stuff that growing up, you would not believe like how sweet my mom was and packing all this stuff up and said that stuff is in storage. And so it's not something that's going to be solved in one day for us. And this is where it comes back to decluttering as a mindset. Every time I get into an attic or a storage closet or a space like that, I have to remind myself that I don't need all this stuff. And I have to ask myself why I'm hanging on to it. And then sometimes I have to deal with that emotion. And if I'm hanging on to it out of guilt, I need to process that in my own mind so that I can let go of it instead of just allowing it to accumulate anymore. My last decluttering tip is kind of funny. Sometimes I practice throwing things away. I know that sounds like again, this is sort of a mindset that I have to kind of get into. It's sort of like the one thing in, two things out mindset. But I'll be like, okay, set a timer, 10 minutes, do a tidy and find 10 things you can throw away or get rid of or put in the donate box, things like that. So there's a lot more that I could have talked about on this. I didn't even touch on decluttering kids' rooms or clothes, which is an ongoing thing, I feel like, at our house. But if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. We will have some follow-up on this. So if you would like the handy dandy little worksheet that I just talked you through, make sure that you are subscribed on our email list. I think that link is whitneyenglish.com/newsletter. And then also follow me on Instagram at Whitney English for further updates. Thank you guys for joining me for today's Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Time workshop. And I will see you next month, if not before. Bye.